Hello, and welcome to now the 10th-ish episode of the Cage Fight Podcast.
10's, right?
Yeah, 10's about on, I think.
We've watched 18 movies so far, and, I'm feeling great about it. Feeling optimistic for the first time in my entire life.
You've got a feeling.
I've got a feeling.
Oh, God.
Nick caught the G-Force bug.
I know.
We got a new...
I'm trying to get over it. I spent a few days in bed sick trying to get the G-Force bug out of me.
You got a new member of the G-Force gang right here, and his name is Nick. He's been converted.
For the record, I've not been converted. I'm fighting every step of the way.
Wait, who is this?
This is Nick Offerman. What?
This is Zach Galifianakis.
This is Mike Offerman Tyson.
Mike Offerman Tyson.
This is Mike Hunt.
Oh, holy shit. That's if you say that too fast, it sounds naughty, so don't.
Okay.
You are about to join G-Force, the government's most elite team of spies on a
Not
top-secret
again.
mission.
The
In
G-Force
3,
update.
2, 1.
G-Force, Delta Formation.
You bitches!
Oh, God.
Murder! You'll all be guilty! And you're doing it for nothing!
I don't know what they're plotting over here.
Goddamn honey!
Oh, God. No, that is the waste of $30. Please don't.
Yeah, we need to get that and hang it up in here.
We do.
I don't remember that cat meow at the end of it.
That's actually the best part. Just to give a quick update. So last week I told all our listeners to go out there and tweet out hashtag GeForceGang. And I'm happy to report that we absolutely went viral. They're saying one of the biggest tweets of all time since Jimmy Fallon elected Trump president.
Oh, yep.
I've been getting DMs from the CEO of Twitter. He's personally thanking me because
Didn't Macklemore hit you up?
yeah, Big Mac has hit me up.
Much to my chagrin about all of this.
Yeah,
I'm still over here with the anti-G-Force campaign, but
he's actually a new convert. He's a little bit self-conscious about it, but yeah, basically Twitter has had an influx of new users who heard about G-Force Gang. Old users who had left have come back, and yeah, basically Jack from Twitter was saying that he hasn't been able to feed his kids since banning Alex Jones and all the alt-right talking heads. And so he's just happy to have a bit more traffic now, thanks to the hashtag GeForce Gang.
yeah. Well, G-Force is, I think, should probably be banned from Twitter. It's on the level of terribleness of Alex Jones.
Well, actually, not a lot of people know this, but the G-Force is a leftist group.
I see.
And they are super woke, and they will never be canceled. So,
Didn't they have that frog?
no, you're thinking of a different group. I think you're thinking of a different. The frog group is a different one.
No,
Sure?
I'm pretty sure Pepe the Frog is in G-Force. I remember that.
I'm gonna have to fact check that, but I'm pretty sure G-Force killed Pepe the Frog, and Alex Jones, and
The fat
All
one
cops.
with the fucking farting problem looked just like that Breitbart guy.
Wait,
which one? Bannon?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it actually kind of did.
Yeah, actually, so the G-Force murdered Steve Bannon, but he was wearing, or they tried to murder Steve Bannon. He was wearing about 14 sweater vests, and the bullets just would not penetrate. So
I see.
next time, we'll get him next time, guys.
Well, speaking of fascists, Captain
segue.
Corelli's Mandolin.
Oh, I thought you were going to introduce yourself again.
Oh no, yeah, we gotta introduce. Oh,
No, we did it. We're good.
okay. Nick, Zach, Mike. The last names they cherry. I was going to say change and vary at the same time,
Hey,
and it
my-
came out Cherry.
It's funny because my last name is Cherry.
Weird, my last name is Cherry.
And
It's probably
also,
because that time we got married.
That's true. And our couple name is Buck Cherry. So yeah.
and also our engineer Dave, who is Still here. Still fucking here.
Yeah.
But looking at a job with Buck Cherry.
Oh.
He actually, right after we finished the record last week, he came down to us on his knees, and his knees were just scraped like he was practicing this while we were recording, and he begged for our forgiveness, and I think he said he wanted one more shot. He knows that he's trash or something like that, and he's going to try better.
Well, really what it was is that I wanted one more shot of the slow gin, but nobody would give me any more.
Yeah, and I would like to congratulate Dave on. I was going to congratulate Dave on his. Today was his 3 years sober date.
Yeah.
And he is celebrating by getting real trashed. So
Hey, cause for celebration, man. That's what I say.
Anyways, today we're comparing Captain Corelli's Mandolin and Dying of the Light. 2 movies that I'm willing to bet you've never heard of. And I mean, I certainly hadn't. And
I wonder why that is. Because after
you shouldn't.
yeah. So we're gonna start off with Captain Corelli's Mandolin here. It's came out in 2001. A year that we'll never forget.
it was a great year for a lot of people. Bad year for a lot of people too.
Yeah.
Because I think.
Well, I think it was really good for this guy named Bin Laden. He had a lot of his plans came to fruition. And,
and then he was elected president 7 years later.
Yeah.
So yeah. Just kidding. I'm on the G-Force side.
You're not on the Bannon side.
I'm not a Bannon guy. That's Dave and Nick.
Hey, don't make those types of accusations at me.
The only thing I'm
please don't lump me
banning.
in with that.
The only thing I'm banning is Nazis. Heyo. And that's why I watched this movie because it was made by Nazis, I think.
So Captain Corelli's Mandolin is rated R, came out in 2001, and directed by John Madden.
that is
It's
not
in
a
the
joke.
game.
Wait, John Madden? Are you fucking serious?
John Madden directed this movie. And I know
Yes.
what you're thinking. Not the football personality. But you'd be wrong. It is, in fact... I didn't check this.
I
The
didn't
John
check it
Madden.
either, but I'm pretty sure you're 100% correct.
He's directed such films as Madden 03, Madden 04.
Madden 98.
Yeah, and actually, Michael Vick was supposed to be the lead in this movie initially, but
Then they got Penelope Cruz.
yes, they got Penelope Cruz because she killed more dogs, and thus was a more powerful personality.
Yeah, if you didn't know, in his spare time from talking about football and being a coach or whatever the fuck he was, I don't remember.
That's just good
I
football.
think he sold hot dogs.
John Madden also directed Shakespeare in Love, which I believe won Best Picture the year it came out. I don't fucking remember. Also, the Best Exotic Marigold thing.
You know.
one I haven't heard of. Yeah,
Who was Shakespeare in love with? That's
With,
what I'm wondering.
with John
Leonardo
Madden.
DiCaprio, right?
Oh yeah.
No, that was Romeo plus Juliet. It had Gwyneth Paltrow.
No,
And-
but Shakespeare was actually in love with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh,
Yeah. Yes.
Oh,
the
yes.
movie's
Okay,
different.
I know
but,
what you're
like,
talking about.
The man was.
Yeah, they exaggerated the plot a little bit for the screen, but
Mhm.
Changed names to make sure.
Shakespeare was in fact in love with Leonardo DiCaprio, and that's why he actually did invent so many words to try to confuse Leonardo DiCaprio and trick him into his bed. So,
and it did work.
it
I believe.
did work. They fucked.
They fucked a lot.
They fucked a lot, and it killed Shakespeare. And that is how much I don't want to talk about this movie.
Captain Corelli's Mandolin.
Production company Studio Canal and Working Title Films, which Working Title Films is an interesting choice for the thing. I don't know. It seems if you only have a working title and you name your company after that, it seems to imply that anything you're producing never actually comes out. But
They're still working on it.
It's quirky. It's like, hey, what if we called our production company like To Be Determined?
Well, this movie has a runtime of 129 minutes, one of the longer offerings we have had up to this point.
Yeah.
I don't recall what the longest one is, but I ought to look that up sometime soon.
I want to say the USS Indianapolis one is up there.
Yeah, I think that one and this one. I think this one ekes it out by just a little bit. But
Yeah. For the most part, even the worst movies have had the sense to cut it off at around 90 minutes or so. 110 maybe. But here we are at a full 120 something.
129.
And
10 minutes longer than 2 hours. So.
And it felt like it.
It had a budget of $57 million and it a box office gross of $62.1 million. So just barely in the black, putting Cage's total of movies in the black at this point, 7 out of 18 that we have seen thus far. So
All right. I wasn't expecting this movie to bump him up to 7, but good for him for being almost halfway.
So reviews for this movie, Rotten Tomatoes, the tomato meter, it's got a 28%. About 1 in 4 critics liked it. Audience rating, 50%. About 1 in 2 people, in case you don't know what 50% means.
I think that means there was somebody else in the room with me watching it over my shoulder because I was not the 50% that liked it.
Oh, all right.
Hey, this movie wasn't that
Got
bad.
Hey, you know what? It was.
See, the thing that saved this for me is at least like the battle scenes and the war scenes. It reminded me of watching good movies, like Saving Private Ryan.
My ears
Band
did
of
perk
Brothers.
up every time like a good battle scene started. But it kind of made me like yearn for any other battle scene.
I think for me, the thing that kind of got me is like, this is a lot of like World War II movies like show kind of similar things where it's like these battles and all
Yeah.
that stuff. Where this was more about like just an occupied city.
Yeah,
Had
that was
very
interesting.
little to do with like the actual war
Mm-hmm.
part of war.
Right.
So like I thought that was
It was an interesting concept.
it was interesting.
Yeah, it was an interesting perspective.
Maybe not 2 hours interesting, but
Yeah. But you'd be hard pressed to find a World War II related movie that's under 2 hours, I feel like.
Oh yeah, that's true. Actually, the 2 longest Cage movies up to this point have both been World War II movies, if you guys have noticed too. So,
The one drawback, though, of kind of keeping this in a centralized area is that there was no sharks in this one.
True.
they might have just not shown the sharks.
That's true. They might have cut it down for time, but why cut that part down for time?
Well, the Nazis were like the sharks of Europe. Like,
No, that's true.
Sleeking around and like grabbing things and eating them and liking chum.
they smell blood, and they were in Finding Nemo.
Yep.
Yeah. So a lot of crossover here.
The other thing I will say about this, it's a movie about Italy during World War II, mostly, which is pretty neglected as far as World War II movies I've seen. Almost none of them addressed Italy in that war.
that's
And then
true.
also
Yeah.
it's Italy in Greece, which is another area that we don't really ever see in World War II movies. I mean, you've seen a million ones about D-Day, a million ones about like Okinawa, Iwo Jima, the Battle of the Bulge and stuff like that. How often do you see stuff like this?
Yeah, there
it's
was a
like-
few scenes where I was having a bit of a battle of the bulge myself in this one. Sorry, I couldn't pass that.
Oh,
up.
you battled yours?
Well,
I
mean,
just went with it.
it was just that they didn't show Christian Bale's ass for long enough. Like when I saw it, I was definitely paying attention, and it was very firm. And an old man slapped it.
Yeah, he did for some reason. It
But,
still confuses me. That's a fun fact. There is video evidence that at one point John Hurt slapped Christian Bale on the ass.
It is out there, and I have seen it. And
Like Mississippi John Hurt or the other John Hurt?
The other John Hurt, but
hey, by the
maybe
But how much
Mississippi
better
John
would
Hurt.
it be if it was Mississippi John Hurt?
Hey, maybe that happened too. I choose to believe it did.
by the looks of it, that John hurt Christian Bale's ass.
Puns.
Fuck. God damn it. Hate this shit. Stupid. Fuck.
So, just some little trivia notes about this. This is based on a book by Louis de Bernier. I don't know how to pronounce his last
Louis de
name.
Bignal.
Yeah, it
Say it
came out
fast.
in the late 90s. I have no info about the book or how closely this resembles the book, except Roger Ebert's review, which says that this did not do a good job of translating the book to the screen. And, okay, Mr. Ebert.
Yeah. So this was, I don't have any information about the book other than this movie and World War II is based on the book. And everybody who has read it agrees that it's even less boring than this. I don't know where I was going with that. I'm doing great.
Also, originally this was going to be directed by Roger Mitchell, who is famous for directing. Hold on a minute.
Oh, Roger Mitchell. Yeah. Off the top of my head, if I could just think of one movie that everybody would know. Sorry, I have an itch on my.
Mike, I hate to interrupt you, but I just want to say this week we are sponsored by Nicolas Cage, as always, because this is all about him. And he's not even paying us. We're just doing this anyway.
Yeah, we do it for him,
doing
and
this.
he
But
just
what was
decided
that?
to-
What were you saying about that movie?
So Roger Mitchell, not to be confused with Roger Mitchell, actually maybe.
famous for directing Notting Hill and Changing Lanes.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot. I'm glad you guys remember that off the top of your head.
Yeah, it's actually so funny because I was actually changing lanes on the drive here, so all for him. But so yeah, basically he was supposed to direct this movie, but then one of the producers was like watching TV late at night, and he saw this guy drawing on the TV screen.
And you see here, like you got the guy was running this way, and that's not good football. And you gotta play some good football if you're gonna win football. So you gotta send your guys over this way.
And so,
And he thought, wow, this guy calls out plays like that. It's just like in World War II, how a general would call out plays for their soldiers to follow.
and it's also just like directing, when
Where you're ordering people around.
yeah, the actors were like, okay, where am I supposed to be standing? And he would take out his pad.
And it's like a
and
blue
his,
14, blue 14.
Blue 52 Hut was the actually working title for this movie. But they had to put John Madden down.
Oh.
So,
Poor bastard. But yeah.
is he still alive?
I have no idea.
It feels like he should be dead. No offense to the Madden family.
Well, they took him out of the Madden games, right?
I don't know.
I don't know. I stopped playing them in like
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because they took
2001.
him out.
Yeah, I haven't played one since like 2006, but
It was never as good as Blitz.
true. Blitz the League was the shit. But anyways, Roger Mitchell was going to direct, had a heart attack, couldn't finish it, so John Madden was like, hey, if I know anything about movies, it's that they're just like football.
See, the director here, he went in for a play, but his heart just wasn't in it, so they had to take him out. We're gonna put in John Madden here.
He had no heart.
He had no heart because it exploded.
And that's not good directing.
That is not, one of the first things they tell you in film school is that if you, in fact, want to be a director, you should not have a heart attack or die. Or
Like first day they say your heart has to be in it, and people usually think that's like just like a saying, but no,
Yeah.
they mean like you literally have to have a good heart.
there's
Yeah.
no metaphors at all because these actors these days, they just kind of do whatever they want. And it sends you into a rage. Speaking as a director myself, for this podcast, because it's so hard to keep these motherfuckers in line.
Yeah, he's always sitting behind a camera on a folding chair over there for some reason, and he has guys on booms hang mics over us, and then he'll occasionally call one over to them so he can talk into it. It's not a very effective way to carry out a podcast recording as far as I'm concerned, but
Well, it's better than the way that we used to do it, where every time I wanted to say something, I had to get up and run over here from my director's chair.
True.
So
Remember back when you used to come up here and just hit the talkback button and then run back down?
that was good times.
I was gonna say like anything would be better than having Engineer Dave.
Yeah, I mean, we kicked around the idea of sending me up and down the stairs every few minutes, but it was just really hard to cut out my heavy breathing when I came back.
Yeah.
So we did
Speaking
end
as
up.
the editor, it was rough. There's
Yeah.
a lot of cuts there that you probably don't notice because that's good editing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was in the other room. What was that?
Not important.
By the way, can I have like an executive producer credit? Like, because that's a job that doesn't matter, right? There's no actual work for.
Yeah, I think executive producers, the role they have in making a movie is, they like order the coffee for everybody who's tired on the set.
Works for me.
I think that's what they do.
Hey, Zach, I'll have a coffee.
Yeah,
you got to prove your worth first.
Oh yeah, it's on the way. Don't worry about
Yeah,
it.
could I get one of those?
Who does this guy think he is?
Uh,
Order on the executive producer.
Yeah,
He's
true.
just a filthy
First of all.
engineer.
you got to know your place.
First of all, you're thinking of a different producer, Dave, that you can order around because it's not this one. So let's get that straight. Sorry, things are all over the place here, and
Well, moving on to the
Captain Corelli's mandolin.
to the plot of this film. Okay, we open up and we see John Hurt, famous actor man, famous for having an alien burst through his chest, at least in my opinion. That's
Mr.
his
Johnny.
best role. He's a doctor in a Greek island near the start of World War II. And Christian Bale is a young lover boy in the town, and Penelope Cruz is a young lover girl in the town, and she's also the daughter of John Hurt, and they love each other.
They do. And so Christian Bale, famous actor for those who don't know, you might remember Christian Bale from such movies as
The
Mio in the Land
Machinist?
of Faraway, Empire of the Sun, Henry V, Newsies, Swing Kids, Prince of Jutland, Little
Oh,
Women,
That one's my favorite.
Pocahontas, he played Thomas, Portrait of a Lady, The Secret Agent, Metroland, Velvet Goldmine, All the Little Animals. These are the movies that we know Christian
His
Bale from.
top movies.
Also,
Um,
Christian Bale cusses out sound guy on Terminator set.
Yeah. Yeah, he was actually, he played that role in Terminator where he just berated anybody who made eye contact with him.
Yeah.
And that's where we know him from now. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to give
Make sure
listeners
everyone knows.
a picture of what this guy looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because no one's seen him. I think did he play like the Riddler? In,
Oh,
Are you an idiot?
okay. So you're thinking of
He was obviously Owlman.
Oh.
You're thinking of A Midsummer Night's Dream, Shaft, Laurel Canyon.
Wait.
Rain
he
of
was in
Fire.
Shaft?
He was with the new Shaft?
He's
Or-
no, in the 2000 Shaft he plays it says Shaft and in parentheses blackface. He's in Equilibrium, Howl's Moving Castle. He was in Howl's Moving Castle. I did not know that.
Damn, I
Equilibrium.
did not know that either.
And so that's probably what you're thinking of, because I don't see any movies about riddles in here. He was in 310 Yuma,
310.
and that's. I mean, I'm of course skipping over his less notable movies.
Oh yeah.
So
Okay. Well, anyways, Christian Bale, he's Mr. 310 Yuma.
yeah.
Is
That's
he's
what they call him.
in Greece, and Greece is about to go to war with Italy because it's World War II, and fascists
History.
going around everywhere trying to conquer things. So Greece is fighting Italy, and Christian Bale's gonna sign up, but he's gonna propose to Penelope Cruz before he leaves. And just for the record, guys, I don't know any of their names, but they're all notable actors in this one, actually.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
I know one of their names.
Oh yeah.
Which one?
Captain Corelli.
Oh shit! Yeah, I forgot.
That was the
forgot
cheat.
about him.
Um,
Wait,
yeah,
what's his first name? Was it Anthony? Or
Captain.
am I just being a racist against Italians?
It was Captain Soprano
It was Captain. Okay.
Corelli.
But he proposes to Penelope Cruz before he leaves and says, "We'll get married when I get back." And then he's like a goofy, super passionate dude who's all about the romance, and he's goofing around. And in one scene, he even ties Penelope Cruz to a chair as a prank or something. I don't really get that, but
Yeah, so he ties her to a chair. He throws her in the trunk of his car, drives her about 15 hours to the nearest lake, tosses her in it, and then eventually pulls her out of the water, resuscitates her, and says, "Just kidding." So, just kidding.
By the way, Antonio.
oh,
Okay.
I was
So we're
right.
both racist against Italians and correct. So
By the way, I've been noticing this the past few times we've been doing this. On IMDb, in all of the movies for Nicolas Cage, he's like all the way at the bottom of the casting.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like on this one, he's like a main character.
Yeah.
he's the titular character.
He's not even on
No,
like
the titular character is the mandolin.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's you know what? That's true.
Did
Where's
the
the
mandolin
mandolin?
get higher billing?
Yeah.
How much
No,
did
like
the
he's
mandolin
not
get?
even on the like ribbon for it. Like
Oh, really?
there's people without pictures on there before him.
What the hell?
Like I have to go into full cast and scroll all the way down to find
think-
Nicolas Cage.
I think IMDb got the memo that we're gonna cancel Nicolas Cage
Oh,
because
yeah.
they're trying to scrub him from all the web pages.
So, after that, Christian Bale leaves off to war. Penelope Cruz is left behind and says, like, promise you'll write me letters. And he's just like smiles and nods and leaves.
Yeah,
That'll come back.
What a dumb fuck.
yeah, you can definitely tell by the smile that he's thinking, I don't know how to write
Yeah.
or read.
Yeah, he's illiterate, but he chooses not to tell her until he's back after the war. But so a montage of Cruz as she's writing letters to Christian Bale, and she's never receiving any in return. She's so worried he's dead. But we're getting news the Greeks beat back the Italians, and everyone in town is happy. But then the Germans are like, "Oh, you pussy ass Italians, we're gonna come through and like be Nazis here." And the Germans lead a counteroffensive and defeat the Greeks. So they leave Greece in the control of Mussolini's fascist Italian government, and the Italian army comes to occupy the city, where we meet Mr. Cage, who is Captain Corelli and possesses the titular mandolin.
And let me tell you something. It's definitely a stringed instrument, this mandolin.
It certainly
That's
is.
all I really have to say about it.
I believe it's also tuned in fifths,
Yes.
and each string is doubled.
Yeah, and he...
Dave, you played in a band with a mandolin. Talk about mandolins for a minute.
yeah, this is Dave from REM, who was the first man to take a mandolin and plug it into a computer and make it sound like a rock mandolin. So,
Rock mandolin. Hey, that's a new movie we can make.
Captain
I'm thinking-
Corelli's Rock Mandolin, the sequel.
I don't want to talk about these movies. I'd rather make a movie about a rock mandolin than talk about this movie.
I will say his entrance where you first see Captain Corelli or whatever, where he's like marching in the streets, and then he just sees this lady on the side, and he's like, "Hey, every man in my battalion, go flirt with this lady."
Yeah, he's like, "Hey, everyone, beautiful lady on the right," and they all turn and salute her and like bow a little bit and then continue walking. It's a little weird.
It
yeah, they
reminds
all
me of
get in
that-
line and she bends over, and it's very, very suggestive.
Yeah.
It reminds me of those times when like you're with your friends and you're like, "Hey, nobody look, but that girl is like looking at me," so that all your friends look at once.
Mhm.
It seemed like that kind of scene.
But
Yeah.
instead of your friends looking, it was an entire army
Yeah.
of people.
But anyways, so Cage is Corelli. He's a captain in the Italian army. He leads a small battalion, the Italian Battalion. It's
Copyright that.
yeah, I will.
He is the mortar team.
Oh, yep, mortars and artillery.
Not that that matters. It
Yeah,
really
he's
doesn't.
It never really comes into play.
Well, I think it's like it's a symbolic thing because he's on the mortar team, Christian Bale's on the brick team, and it's like brick versus mortar type of thing.
Oh, I see. And it turns out he's the mortar, much like it does in a wall, that holds everything together. And
Well, much like a mortar, he
Explodes.
explodes and blasts all over Penelope Cruz. So yeah.
So Cage walks up to the Greek government of the city and he's like, "Hey, you're gonna surrender to me, right?" And his accent does sound kind of like that.
Nick
Yeah.
is very close.
for the record, Nick is not doing an offensive Italian accent. He's doing a very true to this movie Italian accent.
Yep. And the Greeks are like, "No, we're not surrendering to you. You guys, we beat you in a battle. We'll surrender to the Germans when they're here." And
I will say, I think this was probably like the best scene in this movie.
Yeah,
When
I
it's
like
like
that
they
scene.
hand him a note and he reads it, it's just like, fuck off.
Yeah, it says fuck off, and then he's like, what? And then they hand him another letter, and it says, since you do not understand the meaning, like, we defeated the Italian army in battle, and were only forced to surrender by the Germans. We will only surrender to a high-ranking German officer, so you can fuck off. I thought that was, it was a good scene.
And then he rips off his mask, and he's actually Hitler. So they all surrender too.
Yep. And
It makes me think though, like, did shit like that happen in like the real world at all? Where they're
yeah.
just like, fuck you to their faces?
I mean, anything's possible. If take a good hard look at the White House right now.
Yeah.
So I don't want to get into that though. Sorry.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
Just a quick reminder: I did watch this movie, and that is not a lie.
oh yeah. So yeah, Cage calls a bunch of countries shitholes, and no, but
Yeah, he drains the swamp.
no, okay, so
I think this is the part where we can skip ahead because that was the most interesting scene in this movie,
yeah,
and the rest of it is just boring.
well, yeah. Everyone in Cage's battalion is a member of the Opera Society, and they've all got to play an instrument and sing. They've never seen battle before, so they're just soldiers who are like a barbershop quartet.
Yeah, and-
except there's 100 of them, so it's a barbershop centet, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, and if anybody, I might be remembering this scene wrong, but if anybody like shows up while they're singing, and Nicolas Cage is like, "Hey, you better fucking start singing or get out." He's like super weirdly serious about
Or
it.
I'll ask you, is this poetry? And stick my hand in your crotch.
That's why I stopped singing.
So, the officers in the town are being housed in the locals' homes because, you know, that was a common thing in wartime. I think it still kind of is sometimes. But, so Cage ends up being housed in John Hurt and Penelope Cruz's home. And he's really friendly and all like goofy and laughing and singing all the time and playing his mandolin.
Yeah,
and then they're like,
very
"You are an
musical man."
occupying army. We don't want you here." Very understandably. And he's like, "Hey, but we can sing and I can play this mandolin."
Yeah, they're generally like,
And eventually they're like, that's okay.
they're like, "Why are you here? We don't want you here." And then he whips out his mandolin, and they're like, "You can stay."
So Christian Bale comes back from the war and wanders into their house, and then Penelope Cruz is like, "You're back," and he's like, "Why didn't you answer my letters?" And he's like, I'm illiterate.
I can't read or write.
And he's real beaten up, and Dr. John Hurt fixes him up, and then he's like, kind of like, "Hey, I'm gonna go join the resistance because I don't like these occupying Italians here." Which, yeah, he has a New York accent just when he says Italians. But,
Just
No,
Italians. And when he says that he's walking here,
yeah,
I didn't fully understand why he had to walk all the way there.
I don't either.
Like, why couldn't he just come home other ways?
Maybe he like defected from the army and was trying to hide or something. But then why would he join the resistance?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's.
I feel like they,
I was very confused on his, like, where was he?
he was
like-
honorably discharged, and they dropped him off about 30 miles from his house, and he had to walk all the way back.
Maybe,
But they live on an island.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
why
How
it was
did he
such a
walk
challenge.
there? That's a good question.
See, that's not their problem.
It was just, I don't know. That movie, it was so weird. And I forgot where I was going at the beginning of the sentence. And now I'm just kind of rambling.
Well, I'll take over for you. So
I got this. No.
Penelope Cruz is getting progressively more and more annoyed with Nicolas Cage because of his singing and instrument playing, and
Yeah, she just wants that dick
She
so
just-
bad. She's not getting it.
so she yells at him, and he's like, "Why are you're so happy and you're always singing, and everyone around you is dying, and this land is being destroyed. It's a war. Stop singing and being happy." And he's like, "There are always reasons to sing, even when you're sad. And I'm going to go now because you don't like me, and I'm a nice fascist occupying the city." And leaves. And So we get a lot of like scenes of like the Italians hosting parties in town because occupying armies usually host parties for
Yeah, they throw the best ragers.
Yeah, they're basically trying to show like, hey, Italians are nice guys.
yeah.
Like, hey,
Which-
yeah, we're unwanted here, but we're gonna make it the best for everyone involved.
This is one complaint I'm gonna have to level against this movie a little bit. They tried to make it seem like the Italians were great and did no wrong, and like, yeah, they didn't commit atrocities quite like the Nazis did.
No
but
one can commit atrocities quite like the Nazis.
Nobody can. Like that's that's a whole new level of atrocity. But just look up Italian fascist war crimes on Wikipedia, and you'll find a long page of things that they did to, and even in Greece, like I don't know, they killed something like 110,000 civilians and like burned a shitload of buildings.
They had
Like,
a knife.
It wasn't all fun and games. Like,
Well, at least in between all the, light genocide, they got a little bit of singing in.
Well, I think the problem was they didn't have standard issue mandolins.
no, it's true.
Right.
If they gave everyone a mandolin or like a
It
guitar,
would
or
have been
something,
nonstop parties.
I
yeah.
don't want to get too hippy dippy on you, but if we replaced every gun in the army and the marine with a guitar or a mandolin
Mhm.
or a
So-
drum,
Then the Navy would take over.
then the Coast Guard would kill everybody. But yeah, I think
Yeah, it's a
they're-
delicate balance of power between the four branches. They're all trying to destroy the country that they're defending. And
Imagine if World War II, instead of a war, had been more of a battle of the bands type of thing. Now that's a movie.
oh, dude,
Revisionist history where each country is a different band. Right?
I like it. So like,
And the U.S. is the like halfway through the movie. They're the surprise entry.
Yeah, and then they fucking drop a bomb on one of the other bands.
yeah. He just murdered the Japanese metal band.
They slaughtered this opposing band.
They
And
actually the first time they only like slaughtered half of them. They're like, please no, stop, we surrender. But then we're like, nope, we got another one.
like, what would give you less respect for us if we stop now or if we didn't finish the job?
yeah. And the German band shot themselves. And like, but anyways,
USA, USA.
So Cage, in one of the parties, Cage writes a song for Penelope Cruz on his mandolin and plays it in front of everybody, and he's like, "This is Penelope Cruz's song," and she's just like gets up and runs away, and then he the next day shows up and he says, "I wrote that song because I love you," and then she's just like, "No," and then he's like, "But I do," and then they kiss and have sex, and then they're in love.
I will say, this is throwing a kink in my all Nicolas Cage movie with boobs are bad movie or idea, because this movie wasn't terrible
Yeah.
and it had boobs.
Yeah, I've seen worse movies, and it did have a decent amount of boobies. Like on the beach when the Italians
Yeah.
were hanging out with a bunch of girls who all had their tops off and were running around. And we saw some Penelope Cruz boobies.
Yeah,
and
and
we
then
saw
the-
some Christian Bale booty.
That was
And
actually the
maybe
funniest
it's-
part when the Nazis ran over when they were on the beach. And they were like, "You just came over to see the girl." So that's the accent they were using because nobody could act.
Then John Hurt asked Cruz, he's like, "Do you love Christian Bale?" And then she's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "No, I think you love Nicolas Cage." and she's just like, "No, it's Christian Bale." And he's like, look, I know you like that Cage, man. You can just get with the Cage, but you just have to act honorably towards Bale and his family." And then she's like, "Okay." So news comes in that Italy has fallen to the Allies, and Italy's out of the war now. So the whole Italian battalion, hearing that they have lost the war and that their cities are being occupied by a foreign army, cheer and celebrate because they're all good guy fascists and they're going to go home. They're real happy that they're going to go home. Which, I mean, I guess I could understand. Even if you lose the war, you get to go home. It's better than, occupying a city and singing all day. I guess.
Yeah.
Depends who you are.
It's the lighter side of fascism.
Yeah. Yeah, except Cage is the only one who doesn't celebrate. He seems disappointed because his new love is here and he just gets to play music all day and he's
Or-
never had to fight ever.
Or he just loves his country.
Oh yeah, that too.
That could-
maybe
that could be it.
that's it.
I mean, that's a common thread amongst fascists, so that makes sense.
Yeah. So they find out from the Italian command in the area that they're going to be surrendering all of their weapons to the German forces and returning home. And they're all a little bit like, hey, we surrendered to the Allies, not to the Germans. Why are we giving them our weapons? And they're like, because the Germans are saying we have to. And they're like, well, all right, but fuck you, I don't like your decision. And
And they wrote "fuck you" on a piece of paper.
so afterwards, Christian Bale is like, talks to Penelope Cruz and he's like, I want to meet with Nicolas Cage. And then she organizes a meeting and he's like, give us, the local resistance, give us all your weapons so we can fight the Germans. And then Cage is like, well, I don't think I can do that because they're going to keep track of all of our weapons. And then he's like, well, just do it. And then Cage is like, okay, I'll think about it. Then, as the Italian army is just marching somewhere, before the deadline where they have to hand over their weapons, which is supposed to happen the next day, some Germans stop the Italians in the road and say, like, you gotta hand over all your weapons now. And Cage is like, okay, start handing them over. And they all start tossing them in a pile. And one Italian soldier looks at a Nazi and he's just like, I'll give you my gun when I'm done with my cigarette. And they all just stare at him. And he takes one more drag and then throws it at a Nazi. And a scuffle breaks out, and then the Nazis just open fire and kill like 6 Italian soldiers. And,
There's actually a deleted scene, like an extended version of this scene where it shows him smoke the cigarette for 5 straight minutes,
holding up the line,
dead silence, and then he flicks it.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the deleted scene where the Nazis round up those 6 guys that they shot in the regular version, but instead they just break their legs and put a big basket on their head and pour bees into it.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah. That actually
direct inspiration for the Wicker Man too.
Yeah,
actually,
it was crazy.
Nicolas Cage was like, I was always sad that the scene got cut. Let's put it in this one, and then
they cut
tragically,
it.
It got cut again. And, so after that, Cage decides, like, yeah, fuck them Nazis. We're gonna give the Greek resistance weapons, and I'm gonna join them and fight them. So they do that. And this is something I learned from watching this movie. I didn't realize there actually were, once the Italians surrendered, some fights between Italian soldiers and German soldiers. Particularly, actually, after Mussolini got ousted by the Allied government, they installed a new government which, in order to show its support, not for a fascist regime, declared war on Germany. So, I mean, that's an interesting thing. The war lasted for like a month between them before Italy just left the war completely. But it
Oh
did
shit,
happen.
we're losing. Switch teams.
Yeah.
yeah, best war, short and sweet, or really, really long. No in between.
But the Italian and Greek soldiers then begin attacking the incoming German forces that are coming in to occupy the city once the Italians leave, and there's just a huge fight. And it's kind of a cool battle scene. It's got some decent stuff going on, and they all have like period accurate material or weapons and uniforms. It was well done, well researched at least. I thought it was kind of cool, but it only lasts like 5 minutes, and then we go back to well, in the fight, Cage and several of his Italian soldiers are captured. They're all rounded up by the Germans and just gunned down. They shoot all the prisoners, except in the middle of it, one of the other Italians just hugs Nicolas Cage because he's like, Captain Corelli, I love you and your mandolin. Or something.
And the bullets definitely don't go through him at all.
Yeah. Well, they go through him, but not all the way through him. It's just like, Cage gets shot a little bit, but not enough to kill him. So
But it hits him right in the vocal cords, so he can't sing along with the mandolin anymore.
Yeah,
And they break his fingers.
ruin his beautiful voice.
Not my fingers. You bitches.
You bitches.
Christian Bale finds Nicolas Cage dying there because he's going through, I guess, surveying the aftermath, and he takes him back to John Hurt to help him. They stabilize him, and they use strings from his mandolin to bind his broken bones together, I guess. I don't know why I took a note of that. It was like the mandolin saved him or something. I figured it's thematically relevant or something somehow.
Yeah, it's not.
Okay. So the German soldiers begin rounding up the Greeks who have been housing wounded Italian soldiers and resistance members, and they're just shooting people. So Cage escapes beforehand with Christian Bale.
Wait, are the Nazis the bad guys?
You never would have thought that, would you? But
They had that one German guy with him who was having fun. So.
yeah, and he was like, yeah, I like boobies, and I didn't kill Captain Corelli, even though I should have.
I felt like the movie did a good job of making the Nazis seem, lighthearted and fun,
They had face paint on when they shot all those
Yeah,
civilians.
like, hey, we like naked girls too. Yeah, and then
They had that scene where the Nazi finally breaks down and starts singing with them all, and they all applaud and stare at the Nazis smiling, and it's like, yay, singing Nazis.
Yeah, if you actually
Time for Hitler and Germany too.
Yeah, there was Nicolas Cage was singing, the Nazis were singing. The only singer I can think of that was missing.
There is one particular singer who was absent.
They neglected to cast a man by the name of Bryan Singer.
Bryan Singer.
Well,
And-
there weren't any children in this movie, so
There
he
was
did have a
one
role.
young girl who they saved from persecution by the Nazis, which I didn't mention because it wasn't really that relevant. But
And that was Burn on Zach, who said, I don't know how we're going to bring up Bryan Singer in this episode. So, nailed it. End episode. Cut.
He's not even talking about the other movie.
What other movie?
so,
Was I supposed to stop it there?
no. We're
Okay, when I say cut, you cut.
All right, I'll start rolling again.
No, god damn it.
Let's talk about Captain Corelli's mandolin.
So
this
John
movie-
Madden-
Yeah, so at the end of that movie, Christian Bale helps Nicolas Cage escape on a small boat that takes him back home, and shortly after, Cruz gives her ring back to Christian Bale and says, like, I don't love you, I'm calling off the marriage. Sorry, bro. And he's like,
Sucks
"Oh."
to suck.
Yeah. And he's like, okay, I will leave now, crying. And then she's crying, and maybe it's sad, I don't know.
Was it
I don't
supposed to be
feel human
sad?
emotions.
I do sometimes, but I didn't feel it here. Definitely.
So cut to 1947. Penelope Cruz is training to be a doctor, and she receives a record in a package from Italy, and it's the song Cage wrote from her. So apparently when he went back to Italy, he got a record deal and started recording. So
Good for him.
Yeah, good for him.
Well,
And
he's
then-
part mandolin now.
yeah, part man, part mandolin.
Yeah, he got a Ash from the Evil Dead style mandolin on his arm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually harder for him to play.
Yeah, it's a lot harder because you need two hands to play the instrument, and one of his hands is the instrument. So it's
Yeah.
been
it's-
trying with his dick, I think, and it's
He's not as good. I will say that. But
But it is a spectacle to watch.
it truly is, and his passion is always with him. So that's kind of inspiring.
So then right after that, there's an earthquake that destroys their home for some reason. It doesn't really need to be there. It did actually happen. There is a historical earthquake that hit Greece in 1947, but
Wasn't it the earthquake in 1953?
maybe I don't recall.
And this earthquake was, in fact, initiated by the Nazis. They played Panama by Van Halen really loud on their speakers until the ground beneath the Greeks exploded. And that is a historical fact.
Oh,
and
yeah,
not
it is.
revamping.
Sorry. It is 1953. You were correct.
Nailed my earthquake facts.
Hey, we found the
Timeline worked.
one thing Zach knows. Oh, I'm just kidding, buddy. I love you so much, and you're smarter than me. So.
But the earthquake, it did happen in reality. I think that the movie didn't need to put that in because it kind of
No,
felt random
not-
and
yeah.
unnecessary. And in some celebration that's happening afterwards, after the earthquake destroyed a bunch of people's homes. I don't
Yeah,
know.
don't worry about it.
People celebrate at some awkward times in this movie.
Yes. And Cage shows up, and he walks up to Penelope Cruz, and he's like, "I tried living without you, and I couldn't." And she's like, "Well, that's awesome, because we can live together now." And they
Why?
I don't know. They have a moment, and the movie ends. And that's
the war
it.
ended.
The war ended, and if you'll recall, when the movie starts, she's actually in a relationship with another man, played by Christian Bale, who you might remember from Midsummer Night's Dream.
You already said that one.
Shaft.
You said that one?
Captain Corelli's Mandolin.
Oh, that's what I recognize him from.
Laurel Canyon, Rain of Fire, Equilibrium. The Dark, no, I don't know what that is. 310 Yuma, and he
310 Yuma, I think, is his big one. And
yeah, and that's the movie where he famously got the super firm buttocks that he was displaying in this film. So
even though I think it came out well after
it
this
came
one.
out, it came out chronologically after. Yes,
but in terms of his life, he found a time machine, and some weird shit happened.
he's got a real chipped ass. It's very nice. Sorry.
So
See, it's funny because chipped ass, and in the beginning of the movie, he is shot with rocks in his butt.
And then somebody puts a bunch of dip in his butthole and eats it with chips.
So overall thoughts on the movie, it was better than I was expecting, honestly. Because when I first heard the name Captain Corelli's Mandolin, I was kind of thinking of like some magical fantasy land type thing that I thought was going to be kind of cool, and it would have like cool like Alice in Wonder style land visuals. And I was
it sounds like a Jim Henson production of some kind.
Then I looked it up and I was like, oh, it's a romance movie starring Nicolas Cage. This doesn't sound like it's going to be good. And then, so my hopes got lowered, and then I watched it, and I was actually kind of pleasantly surprised. It wasn't that bad. And,
like
it wasn't terrible. Yeah, I mean, it could have been worse.
it was an interesting World War II movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
And,
no sharks, but interesting. Yeah.
Definitely too long.
It does kind of paint over fascist war crimes with "It's okay, they were all singing," and it's a decent movie though.
Well, I think the point of the movie was to say how the soldiers fighting in war aren't always the evil that they are fighting for.
Evil. Yep. And it was kind of like a love story, and putting any of that stuff in would have kind of
I
taken
love
away
you.
from the
Hold on,
movie.
let me go murder some kids.
It could, it wasn't entirely relevant to the story they were trying to tell.
No,
I'll say that. So,
and I actually forgot to read a few of the fun facts / trivia I had about this one. So it is the worst thing that's ever happened to me, and it is used by torturers to suck the life out of anybody who watches it.
Yeah, usually I believe how they do the torture with this movie is they put it on and then they cut off part of your ear.
Yes, they.
oh yeah, as
chip
they
your
do
ear.
in the next film we'll watch. This film made a cameo on a TV screen in a torture scene.
Yes, and that is what we call a great segue.
Aha. Which is not the thing that Paul Blart wrote. I fucked that up. That is what we call a bad segue.
Yeah, I really wish Nicolas Cage was in
Please
Paul
don't
Blart
cut
Mall
that.
Cop.
I'm cutting it. Anyways, I think we're going to take a short break, and then we'll be back to you with the dying of the light. Or actually, there's no the. With dying of the light.
Dying of
Oh yeah! Break time!
Anyways, dying of the light.
Yes, me and Earl and the Dying Light.
And Dying of the Light came out in 2014, was rated R, and was directed by Paul Schrader.
This director, Dr. Schrader,
Mhm.
actually has made a great movie recently. First Reformed. It's the one with what is it, Ethan Hawke. He's like a priest, and then he's like having an existential crisis about the environment. And you're like, well, I'm not going to spoil the end, but it's a great movie.
I haven't seen that movie, and I don't know if that was a bit or
Not a bit.
Okay.
I know my tone never changes. But that I did think it was a little overrated. Everybody was like, "It was the fucking best movie of 2018," but I didn't think it was that. But it was really good.
The only movies I saw in 2018 were, what was it? Oh, A Quiet Place, good.
a good movie.
Hereditary, great. Love Hereditary. Everyone should
Hereditary is
watch that.
amazing.
And
Quiet Place sucks, but
Sorry to Bother You,
oh, yeah.
which was awesome.
You didn't like A Quiet Place?
I just thought that Jim looking into the camera the whole time was a little bit distracting.
Well, he had to look into his face so that you know it was a goof.
Yeah, and I don't know. I went into that movie expecting it to be very quiet, but I saw it in the theater and there was someone eating chips really loudly the whole time, and it was me. So,
Oh, I see.
When I went to see that movie, we bought like a pizza and had drinks and everything, and I think that was the slowest I've ever eaten food at the theater because it was like it can't make a noise, can't make a noise, can't make a noise, crunch.
because then the monster would come after you,
Yeah,
right?
and by monster you mean Bryan Singer.
Yeah.
Jim
2018 wasn't a year where I saw a lot of movies for some reason.
Well, you saw the
I saw a
best
lot of
one.
older movies that year, but yeah, Hereditary?
Yeah.
Or Sorry to Bother You?
Hereditary.
Oh, Hereditary was great. Sorry to Bother You has not been seen by enough people, and that's a great movie. People should watch it.
It is
It's
a
on
very good movie.
Hulu, and I keep meaning to watch it, but
Yeah, you
I've
should
been
watch it.
watching Nicolas Cage movies.
Yeah.
You especially should watch it. You fucking capitalist pig. Just kidding.
um.
Love you.
So.
Oh yeah, the trivia. Sorry, were we doing? Did we skip over the trivia? I
I don't
had
know.
the trivia
Did we
open.
even say the name of the movie?
It was Dying of the Light.
Okay.
And,
Directed by the guy who directed First Reformed, and that is probably the only good movie he has directed, and that does include this one. So,
the production companies were Red Granite Pictures, Grindstone Entertainment Group. So I assume that Grindstone is made of red granite, and accurately, watching this movie is kind of like grinding at work. It's rough. Runtime of 94 minutes, budget of $5 million. Could not find a box office gross for this movie. So
I'm gonna say
It
we are
did
the first
not.
people to have seen it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That could be true.
I'm gonna guess, since they didn't even release the box office gross numbers, that it's not in the black. I'm not gonna put it in the confirmed in the black ones. It's,
I wouldn't. I would say this movie made probably between $0 and $15.
Here's a little fun trivia fact though. Of that $5 million budget, $1 million of that was just Cage's salary. So
Yes, and as we know from watching this movie, there is no one else who could have played this character. So definitely worth taking 20% of the budget and tossing it Cage's way.
Well, apparently they wanted Harrison Ford.
Yeah, Harrison Ford was the original lead, and I think Nicholas Winding Refn, the dude who did Drive.
I thought you just made up a name on the spot.
No, he's he did Drive and friggin'
I haven't seen Drive, but I've heard it's really good, and I want to watch that.
I like actually his most recent one is called The Neon Demon. I like that one a little bit better.
Hmm.
And then he has one other one called Only God Forgives, which is about like well, let's just say Bryan Singer probably gets off to it. But he was supposed to direct it, I think, because Harrison Ford and Channing Tatum were supposed to be the leads instead of Cage and Anton Yelchin, respectively. But I guess there was like some editing in post production that like fucked with Schrader's
yeah.
vision.
I guess the movie was taken by the studio and re-edited without the input of the director, the crew, or any of the actors, and
Yeah.
just completely cut in a way that none of them were satisfied with. And
So it could have originally been a good movie.
mhm.
Not to spoil that this movie fucking sucks.
Well, here's the thing: tomato meter 9%, audience score 15%. Not well liked.
I'm surprised it got 15%.
Yeah.
This time, I am the 15%. This movie sucked, and I loved it.
Like, we watch a lot of bad movies on this podcast, but like some of them are like that good bad where it's like, this was terrible, but I love it because it's just so over the top and hilarious.
Yeah.
This is one of those where it's like, this is bad. Why does this exist?
Yeah, this didn't have any like outbursts by Cage that could have saved it really.
Which is weird because he has dementia.
Yeah,
Like-
there was
and
prime opportunity for some outbursts, but
yeah, they gave him like some angry lines, but they never let him go full like
Cage.
Cage.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, it definitely felt like
They
he was
had
holding
him
back.
caged.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Dun, dun,
And
dun.
as we learned from G-Force, he doesn't like cages.
Yeah.
Because he does say it. G-Force gang.
But yeah, so shall we go into the plot summary that somehow I felt like it was moving a million miles a minute, but also there was nothing happening and no action. Like,
Yeah, it was there was a lot of whiplash.
Yeah, there was a
obtained
lot of
from
like
this.
information being thrown at you that I couldn't really even keep up with. But,
But
at the
like
same
none
time,
of it was really relevant.
yeah, none of it mattered in any way.
Yeah.
Like
Like going into this movie, when you read like the description of it, where it's like a CIA agent is like going rogue after his arch nemesis. It's like, oh, this is gonna be sweet. Like,
yeah, this will be a cool little
CIA
action
spy thriller thing.
Yeah.
Nope.
flick. No, not at all.
Yeah, and there were so many points in the movie where I really thought it was going to start getting interesting, but then it was like, gotcha.
Like, oh, we got your interest, and now we're gonna throw it right back away.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in this movie, we open on Cage being interrogated and tortured by a Muslim guy named Mohammed Banir. And there's really, I don't know, it's just beating the shit out of him, and then we cut to him, and it's 22 years later, and he's giving speeches at the CIA and working a desk job.
Oh, yeah, beating the shit out of him, but also mutilating his ear.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. They snip his ear with some ear clippers.
Yeah.
Honestly, that whole part really didn't need to be in the movie at all. I felt like
The only reason it's worth bringing up is because we've had several like Nicolas Cage prosthetic noses, and this time we had a prosthetic ear,
it's true.
and a scene where he's like wearing a prosthetic ear over his prosthetic ear.
That's true. That was cool. When he takes it off, and I'm like, oh, look at that prosthetic. Oh.
I will say, when this movie started, and like you see, like it keeps flashing between that torture and like him driving a car in the future. And like he had a fucked
flying
up
car.
Yeah.
Car in the future.
But like he had the fucked up ear, and I was like, did something happen to Nick Cage's like ear that I don't know about?
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't know it was a fake for the first few minutes, and I was like, oh shit, I gotta look up what happened to Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
He was in a freak dinosaur bone accident, which he bought a stolen Stegosaurus, and it collapsed on just his ear.
Oh, okay. Now I'm caught up.
But yeah, his prosthetic ear. We find that out a little bit later in another flashback that he got his ear cut with like tin snips or something during the torture process. So Cage, after he gives his speech about like, why are you here? Why are you working at the CIA? This fucking place sucks. It's 'cause you love America. That's why. And then his speech is weird. I don't understand why they hired him to say that. But
He says, and I quote, "You have your head so far up Obama's ass, all you can see is shit."
He does in fact say that. And so after his speech, he's meeting with one of his superiors, and he says like he wants to work in the field again. He's got skills better utilized in the field than not at this desk job. And he's just like, yeah, you're too old. You should just take this money and build towards your retirement. And
Get the fuck out of here.
So, cut to the police in Romania, in a scene that I'm pretty sure was supposed to have subtitles, but did not. And they're chasing some guy, and he gets cornered or trapped on a bridge, and he throws like his keys over the bridge and just jumps into the water and kills himself. Guy's dead.
There's a mysterious flash drive that you see on his keys as he's throwing it over the bridge.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, like he tossed those keys, I'm assuming, into the water, right?
Yeah.
How did they just find these keys right away?
Don't know.
He tossed the keys in the water, then jumped after the keys. They end up with the keys and presumably not the body.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So then cut back to America, the land of the free. Unlike this damn Romania. And Cage is at his doctor's office and he finds out that he has frontotemporal dementia, I believe it was. Yeah. It's some kind of dementia that is not Alzheimer's. That was very clear. But,
it's and by the way, he's like constantly rubbing his forehead. It's all concentrated in that area, and it stings.
Yeah, it stings. He's just gotta hit it. Because, if there's all those nerve endings in the brain, it feels a lot of pain when it's deteriorating, right? Anatomy joke. Your brain actually doesn't feel any pain. Fun fact.
It did when I was watching this movie. Yeah, I just thought it was funny when he's like, well, maybe I shouldn't get into it yet, but when he's like explaining his affliction to Anton Yelchin, the whole time he's like, it looks like he's feeling physical pain in his forehead. He's like, I'm losing. It's in here and it's coming out. And I was like, okay, we get it. You have a book that says dementia on it. That's all you have to say.
But because of his dementia, he'll have bursts of anger. It's a symptom of it, and unreliable sensory perception and like little jitters.
Let's send this guy on a secret spy mission.
So apparently, Cage has been hiding this from his superiors, and he's been adopting a false identity and flying out of the state to some random doctor like 150 miles away to get info about this because he doesn't want the rest of the CIA to know about this because he thinks they'll make him retire, which, spoiler alert, they will. But before we find out that the guy who tortured Cage long ago, Mohammed Banir, has been thought to be dead for like 22 years. Yeah. And Cage always thought he was alive and has been looking for him for these last 22 years. And then he finds evidence that the guy is alive, and it's all related to some type of hereditary anemia that they know his father died of, and that he probably has too because of that, and they're finding drugs for this being shipped around. Anyways, there's a lot of information regarding that gets thrown at you throughout the plot. All you really need to know is that Mohammed Banir is dying of anemia, and that's how they caught him. And
they got him. So they intercepted the doctor.
He presents that to the director of the CIA, and then the director of the CIA is like, oh, he's alive, is he? Well, we found out, because we're the fucking CIA and you were trying to hide things from us, we found out that you have dementia, and we're going to have you retire, buddy. And I think you're just going crazy here. Yeah, Veneer's dead. Or Banir, not Veneer. But,
come on, you got a rotten brain, you stupid idiot.
So then we cut to Mohammed Banir, who is very much alive.
Turns out he is, in fact, alive and is that dying guy in the chair.
Yeah, he's dying in a chair and he needs anemia meds. He's living in Kenya now, I believe. And
as in Kenya, get me some medicine.
Yeah. But also the African country of Kenya.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a Romanian doctor named Julian, as they always say.
Assange.
Cornell, who has been supplying him with the meds. And so one of Cage's coworkers decides to keep working with Cage, even though Cage at this point has been expelled from the CIA for his dementia and will not be working there anymore.
And his coworker stands to gain absolutely nothing from this relationship, but does it anyway.
Yep, nothing at all. In fact, only stands to lose his job.
Yeah. If he wanted to get fired, he chose a really convoluted way of getting there. So
yeah. That involves him getting shot eventually. But so Cage and his coworker decide to fly to Romania and investigate and meet with a contact that Cage has there, which I don't really remember how his lady contact got introduced, but she wasn't really that relevant anyways.
No. Yeah, that
they throw in some like love interest thing like on the side.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know.
It's never relevant, and I don't know. But we see there that Cage is having his outburst of anger at dinner when they tell him he can't smoke in the restaurant, and he says, "Oh, I'm sorry. Let me check. Oh yeah, I am in Romania. This whole fucking country is a smoking section. Fuck you. I'm gonna smoke cigarettes." And then, yeah.
Yeah,
He-
and he's
mad
like,
about
I got dementia. I forgot how to not smoke.
that.
Again, let's send this guy on a secret spy mission.
So yeah, his contact there is an old flame. He gives him gives her a kiss. They talk about stuff. It's all stuff you've heard before already, but also feels like it's confusing still.
Yeah.
Because they
and-
keep like putting it in like different ways to say the same things over and over again. So it's like, oh, you're getting something new. And then you're like, oh, wait, did I already know this? Wait, what were they talking about?
But yeah, they go to meet with that doctor, Dr. Cornell, who is supplying Veneer with the anemia drugs, and they find out from him that he's meeting with the guy who represents Veneer, whose name was like
Doesn't matter.
Hasim, yeah. And that the doctor's wife and family were threatened, and that's what's making the doctor cooperate. So they're like, okay, give us your passport. We're going to pose as you and go there. So he gives them their passport, and they go to meet with the guy who's going to give the doctor the money for payment, and somehow he spots them right away and starts running off.
Which I find is a hilarious scene because like these are CIA secret agents or whatever. And they go to the drop-off point, but they're like a little ways away at a park bench or whatever, or table.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just staring at the guy.
Yeah,
Like the not breaking eye contact at all. So like
Just
the
dead
guy
on.
looks over and sees them staring at him.
Yeah.
It's like, obviously they're gonna know. Like you couldn't have a newspaper in front of your face.
yeah,
Yeah,
just be
a newspaper
little
that
less-
says, we are not CIA. Something a little less obvious.
So he runs off, and Cage's coworker, who stands to gain nothing, who was played by the late Anton Yelchin,
Chekhov.
Mr. Chekhov, he runs off after him and just fucking kills the guy.
Yeah, just straight up
Which
murders
I
him.
was a little bit like, I mean, you're not here on like official CIA business. Like,
Also, they're not in America.
yeah, they're not in America. They're just fucking killing people. Like
This guy just really wants to fucking kill somebody. And
He succeeds.
by gosh, he found an excuse to do it.
He did. So, then they go back and talk to Cage's lady contact, and tell her their plan. They get Yelchin, Mr. Chekhov. They get him a Kenyan visa for his regular passport, and then they get a visa for Dr. Cornell's
Cornell.
passport, who Cage is now posing as, and they give him some makeup to put on him.
Yeah,
And
so basically they say, does Nicolas Cage look anything like Dr. Cornell? No. Can we make him look a little bit like Dr. Cornell? Not really. But we're going to try.
Yep.
So they put a beard and an ear on him.
They put
And
a
then
beard-
let's have him do a bad accent.
Oh, yes. That's the return of the Nicolas Cage bad accent, in case you hadn't rinsed it from your mouth yet from watching Captain Corelli's Mandolin.
Yeah. I actually think he's probably done a bad accent in more movies than he hasn't at this point that we've
Probably.
watched.
Well, he's always in Louisiana.
yeah, that's
He's-
true.
The amount of times that he's done like a Louisiana accent, you'd think he would fucking get it down.
Yeah. Evidently not. Well, this time it's a Romanian accent, which I couldn't tell you what that actually sounds like, but I don't think it's what Cage was doing. But so they go to fly off to Kenya, and as soon as they arrive, Veneer's men pick him up, and they go to meet with his doctor, and then they're like, we're going, and he gets like his medical records and like comes up with some fake doctory things to say from looking at the medical records.
Oh yeah, you got friggin' aspirin prescription.
Yeah.
Stethoscope.
Prescription aspirin. Yeah. And
He's really fucking bad at pretending to be a doctor.
So they're gonna meet with Veneer at his house tomorrow. One of his guys is like, I'll pick you up and I'll take you there. And they're like, okay. So it's the next day, and Dr. Cornell, air finger quotes, goes there to meet with him. And then he's just like, "Hey, I gotta use the toilet. So like, how about you come back with me and make sure the toilet's working?"
I'm gonna take a big fat shit. Just come unclog it for me.
Yeah, I know I just got here, but I gotta take a shit. I usually take my shit on the clock so I can get paid for it. But so
Amen, brother.
Yeah, we all do that.
So takes him to the back. Then he's like, "Oh, the toilet's broken. Can you help me?" The bodyguard walks back there, knocks him out cold, walks out of the bathroom, and sits down in front of Veneer. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm not Dr. Cornell. I'm Nicolas Cage."
He rips his ear off. Probably my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah. And then Veneer is like, "Oh, I know who you are. Remember you." And it's two old enemies, both of them in poor health, meeting, having a chat. And
It's like Thanos versus Rocket Raccoon.
You know that scene where Rocky Raccoon's dying of old age and Thanos has a blood problem?
Oh, so good. Sorry, endgame spoilers.
Then Cage starts having flashbacks to when he was being tortured by Veneer while they're having this conversation, and he gets like lost in the moment, and it's all like running together. And then after the conversation, he just walks out without killing him, walks away. But he lies and tells Mr. Chekhov that he did kill Veneer for some
Yeah,
reason.
I totally killed that guy. Blood everywhere.
Yeah, he's dead. What was it like? Oh, it was a murder.
Dude, it was fucking gross.
Remember how you killed that guy in that other country?
Yeah, like, it was kind of like that,
Remember how
only
you
less
shot
of
that
a
guy?
problem because it's what we came here to do. So, and then while they go back to their hotel and are just walking around the pool, and then one of Veneer's people comes out and just starts shooting at them. Cage gets shot. Yelchin also gets shot, but Cage is not shot as badly, even though
He's
Mr.
older,
Chekhov
or-
got shot in the arm and is much younger, and Cage is quite old and got shot like inches from the heart.
Well, see, when your brain is deteriorating, the rest of your body gets much stronger to compensate.
Yeah. So Mr. Chekhov is down. Some paramedics come and get him, but Cage runs off after the attacker, kills him, takes his car, drives back to Veneer's place, and then just is like, "I'm taking you down now." And instead of taking the gun that the other guy had,
He
for some
pokes him in
reason-
the eye.
Yeah, he pokes him in the eye and like tries to stab him, and Veneer bites him a bunch, and well, he manages to kill him by poking him through the eye.
Yeah, he like sticks his finger all the way in his eye. It's just like, ugh.
He was in a room with a feeble man who's dying, and he probably could have picked up anything to crush his head with, but he just really wanted to stick his finger as deep into this man's eye as he could. I don't understand it,
I don't either.
but it was sexy. So
Yeah. So then he gets back in the car that he took there and starts driving back. And while he's driving, I couldn't really tell if he like lost consciousness at the wheel because they kind of hinted at that could
Yeah,
happen
I think
before.
they implied it.
Or if he consciously tried to kill himself, but yeah, I think it was that he lost consciousness and he steers into an oncoming truck, and we don't see the crash, but we see a montage of shots of graves in a graveyard, and we hear him talking about like his speech from the beginning again about being devoted to the country and shit, and movie's over.
yeah, there is an
And
Easter
that's
egg.
when I was like, thank God.
Yeah, finally.
There's an Easter egg in this movie that the truck was actually the truck from Sunny, which is also the truck from The Wicker Man.
Oh, wow.
So,
Which is also the Pizza Planet truck from
from
the
Toy Story. Yes. Yeah, because actually, so the founders of Pixar had this famous lunch where they sat down and they thought of all the ideas for Finding Nemo, Toy Story, Dying of the Light, Captain Corelli's Mandolin, all these movies in one conversation, and they just slowly rolled them out, and they were all extremely successful.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, Dying of the Light was obviously the most successful of the group.
yeah.
I believe it's the only one to get nominated for Best Picture too. But
Yeah, he was nominated but didn't win because they wanted Anton Yelchin to shoot a few more people in the head.
needlessly.
Yeah, but he didn't.
But overall thoughts on the movie, guys?
It sure was one.
Yeah, it was a film.
Yeah.
It was every time I see a movie that
Well, before we say anything, I think we do have to note how all the actors and people associated with this movie had to sign what was it called? Like a non-defamation
Yeah,
thing about this movie.
I think that's standard arrangement for any
shitty
movie
movies.
where-
Yeah.
Oh,
But
yeah.
so they all got together and took pictures of like a group photo of them wearing shirts with that, and then said they had no comment on the movie.
Yeah,
So I think that kind of sums up this movie.
yeah.
I think what sums up this movie for me is just a few words that kind of were running through my head repeatedly while I was watching this. Masterpiece. Just perfect. Best 94 minutes of my life.
Man, you've had a rough life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not easy. But this movie was a
Bad.
good
This movie was
half
bad.
hour shorter than Captain Corelli's Mandolin. Felt just as long.
It was a bad movie. I'll say that.
This
It was
movie-
shorter.
This movie was so much harder to get through for me. Like,
Yeah,
I
it
had to
honestly
stop
was.
this, do something else, and then go back to it.
At least like Captain Corelli scenes all kind of had a point, and it didn't feel like just information exposition being thrown at me mostly. While
yeah,
like
it
nothing
felt
happened.
like a narrative.
Yeah, this kind of felt like nothing at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I would say these two movies had a lot in common in that it felt like torture to watch both of them. I know we've kind of gone over the fact that, Captain Corelli's Mandolin, not as bad as you would expect, but I will be on the record as saying I would rather die than ever watch it again. So for both of these movies. For both.
oh
See,
well.
I will give.
I really
Captain-
hope you don't kill yourself before the next round, because we're gonna have to watch one of these. But
I'll give it to Captain Corelli's Mandolin, where at least it held my interest. Where Dying of the Light, throughout it, I was just like, why am I watching this? Why did I say yes when Nick asked me to do this podcast? I could be doing anything else right now.
Well, I would say the one thing that kept my interest in Dying of the Light was that it wasn't Captain Corelli's Mandolin, which actually didn't keep my interest at all.
yeah.
There was some good parts, and then I had to rewind because I was playing on my Switch or something. Only for several minutes.
Well, see, I'm gonna have to agree with Zach on this one. Captain Corelli's Mandolin definitely did a much better job of keeping my interest. Maybe I'm just a sucker for World War II stuff. I like watching fascists get killed, even though that movie, the fascists mostly did the killing, which was sad. But
Just like those damn fascists.
yeah.
If there had been more fascist killing, I would have been engaged a little bit more.
Yeah. It was solid narratively, and even though it was 2 hours long, I wasn't checking how much time was left constantly, which I checked how much time was left with Dying of the Light several times, which is never a good sign to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I guess you kind of already know the results of the battle at this point, or at least for two of us.
But we still gotta count it down.
And we gotta count it down.
Count it down.
Dave, can we get that countdown?
Wait, are we recording yet? Do you want me to start recording?
Yeah, hit record.
Captain Corelli's Mandolin is a movie that came out in 2001.
Directed by John Madden.
And you see it! Let's redo all our bits again.
Yeah. Hey, we've got enough practice, and we can maybe we can perfect them.
So Christian Bale, you might recall from being in
Brian Singer.
Hey guys, Brian Singer, dude, he likes kids, dude.
Henry the Fifth, Newsies, Swing Kids, Prince of Jutland, Little Women.
He just fucking kills that guy.
Good football.
all leading up to him getting cucked by a man who is way less attractive than him in really every way possible. It's not really just a physical thing. Even if Christian Bale wasn't ripped. He was also not like asshole invading, your country and then eventually your orifices.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The cage orifice invasion, which has happened in several movies. Most
That's
notably Zandali.
Most
Fuck
notably
that
Zandali.
movie.
So let's get that countdown, Dave.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Nah.
Oh,
All
okay.
right.
So,
And
3, 2, 1.
one. Mute their mics. Dying of the Light.
Captain Corelli's
Dying
Mandolin.
of the Light wins, and it is going through to the next round.
Oh god, no.
Yeah.
Dying of the Light was so bad. Like
They were both so bad.
Mandolin wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I would say it was. I mean, unless you love fascists, which it kind of sounds like you guys do.
Mussolini made the trains run on time.
At least, instead of being an apologist for fascism, Dying of the Light had the
was just
decency
racist against Arabs.
to make a brown man the bad guy. Okay?
Needlessly, also, like, that played no plot relevance.
Also, why he looked like he was like 30-year-old dude? Like, wasn't he supposed to be old too?
Yep, he should have been like the same age as Cage. at
Ugh.
He
least.
should have been, but you know these guys. They got child soldiers.
Oh. So yeah. It looks like Captain Corelli has won this one, and now everybody has one that they dissent on, finally. So, but apparently I'm the only one who's gonna get shit about it with G-Force. So-
G-Force is the shit, though.
G-Force rules, and
G-Force is bad.
I will just have you know, I don't want to ruin the illusion, but as soon as the mics go off, every time, Nick is ranting and raving about how much he loves the fucking movie.
Well, did you see what he just
I
bought?
want you to
He
talk
has a
about it.
full G-Force fursuit now.
Yeah. He actually always said that he wished that we could genocide all furries, but seeing G-Force turned him into a kink master.
At this point of the podcast, they broke into the editing room and prevented me from and forced me to remove all of my comments to the contrary.
And yeah, I mean, I guess part of the reason
He did
so
it in a furry suit.
I love G-Force and I love Dying of the Light because I hate fascism.
I see. Oh, also, I don't think we mentioned this, but Mike showed up to our podcast today wearing a G-Force shirt, so
That
It
is true.
he
beautiful.
spent money on that.
It's a rad shirt. Thank you, Zazzle.com. I don't know if this was a legal sale, but I don't think Disney gives a shit about the rights to this movie, which is a huge problem. Also, just for a little backstory, there's like a lot of construction on the way here, and I missed my exit, and so I got caught by more construction, and the whole drive here I was thinking, someone's gonna find my car rolled over, pull my body out, and I'm gonna be wearing a G-Force shirt.
And they'll know that you had style and class.
Thank you, Zach. G-Force gang.
At least I would be able to identify your body because
When-
you're the only person who would possibly be wearing that.
When are we starting the Kickstarter for G-Force 2?
Well, here's the thing.
I will be donating negative money to that.
So when I started getting all those DMs from the president of Twitter thanking me for starting hashtag GeForceGang and going viral and bringing the website back into relevance, I said, hey, if you got so much power, listen, hook me up with these Disney scumbags and let's get a GeForce 2 going. So Disney calls me on the horn and they tell me, hey, we can't get the original cast back, but what we want to do, because this has become so popular thanks to you, is we're going to make a GeForce reboot. And I said, go fuck yourself. Original cast or I'll kill you all. So that's the hashtag for next week. Hashtag kill all Disney workers.
Yeah.
Mike, I have some bad news for you.
Off with Bob Iger's head.
After you said no to them, they did contact me, and they said they already had a director. And it's Bryan Singer.
Well,
And it's going to star a bunch of kids now.
hey, Hollywood again proves to pick the abuser's side, and you know what? I am against that unless this movie is good.
Oh God. Well, at least we know he can tolerate abuse if G-Force is in it. Would you be a fascist apologist if it was hamsters that were fascists?
I mean, it depends on how cute they are, being trapped in their little cage. So
I've been Zach,
I mean,
and
they
this
put
has
one
been
in that
Change.
fucking movie.
It's true.
and I am Mike, the only non-fascist on the podcast, and that is on the record.
Nah. And I am Nick, the only one with enough taste to recognize G-Force as a bad film that should not have passed.
Hey, you ain't the only one.
Oh, it's true. I got Dave on my side, but he's not going to be here much longer. So
Yeah, and it's always a good indicator when Dave's on your side when it comes to taste.
Now, hold
Yeah,
on.
okay.
Don't judge me by my peers.
Taste these nuts.
Cage fight.
Fight.
Fight. Nicholas
Oh,
Cage.
yeah.
We'll see you next time for Amos and Andrew and Looking Glass.
And we're gonna go through
Anus.
the looking glass.
Okay, I'm done here.
Bye bye.
Bye, hashtag GeForce Gang.
Cage fight. Oh yeah. Cage fight. Nicholas Cage.
This has been a Solid Work production.
Solid work. Solid work. Solid work. Hey, solid work.